The MVP is one of the greatest awards an NBA player can win, but that doesn't mean they're the best player in the league, and there's a huge difference. When you win the MVP, players, fans, and the media vote for you because you had the best season out of any player in the NBA. The best player in the league, however, is the most dominant, skilled, and feared player by the majority of people. So in this video, we're gonna put the MVP head to head with the best player in the league for every year since 2010. You'll want to watch this video because 2021 will shock you. In 2010, LeBron James won his second consecutive MVP in his career while becoming just the 10th player in NBA history to win back-to-back MVPs. He led the Cavaliers to the 1 seed in the East, and he won 61 games despite having no All-Stars and no help on his team. He averaged an insane 38 and 7 a game, and he would finish second in scoring behind Kevin Durant. However, despite having one of the best MVP seasons of his career, LeBron would lose to the Celtics in the second round of the playoffs despite putting up Hall of Fame numbers. If Cleveland actually gave LeBron some legitimate help, LeBron would have won a championship that year, and he would have further strengthened his case as the greatest of all time. Instead, it was Kobe Bryant who won the 2010 NBA championship, who also was the best player in the league at the time. Kobe was known as arguably the most skilled and feared player in the NBA. He had just come off winning an NBA title in 2009 to beat the Orlando Magic, and in 2010 he was more hungry than ever to win another ring. Except that wasn't his main goal. Kobe's real goal was to get more rings than Shaq, in which he would eventually do, beating the Celtics in 7 games to win back-to-back titles.
He's got one more than Shaq.
In 2011, Derrick Rose was named the most valuable player at just 22 years old, becoming the youngest MVP in NBA history. Rose was one of the most explosive and athletic players we've ever seen to this day in the NBA. He led a young Bulls team to the 1 seed in the East with 62 wins, and in the playoffs, Rose would beat the Pacers and the Hawks to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but would lose to the super team of Miami Heat in 5 games. And unfortunately, we all know what happens next. Rose had the most heartbreaking knee injury in the 2012 playoffs. This would change his career for the worst and form the rose that never blossomed. It's so unfortunate that this man had a knee injury, otherwise he'd be one of the greatest point guards of all time. Now, the best player in the league during 2011 was LeBron James. Despite getting a ton of hate for leaving Cleveland to form a super team, LeBron was almost unanimously the best player in the NBA. He would finish 3rd in MVP voting and would lead the Miami Heat to the NBA Finals to face Dirk and the Mavs. However, LeBron would have one of the worst finals performances in NBA history. He would average just 18 points and shoot 60% from the free throw line while being locked up by Jason Kidd and Jason Terry. This finals performance still stains LeBron's legacy to this day, and had people questioning if he really was the best player in the league. However, in 2012, LeBron would redeem himself, winning the MVP, making it his 3rd MVP in just 4 years. LeBron was on a mission to redeem himself from last year's disaster performance in the finals. He averaged 27 and 8 in the regular season, and he led the Heat to the 1 seed, provided that the NBA was in a lockout in 2012. In the finals, he would win his first ring, beating a young trio of KD, Russ, and Harden. LeBron also won his first finals MVP, and because he was that dominant, he was easily the best player in the NBA. Nobody was anywhere near the dominance of LeBron, and was widely agreed upon as the most unstoppable player in the league. And in 2013, he would repeat his dominance, winning back-to-back MVPs with the Miami Heat and becoming just the 5th player in history to have 4 or more MVPs in their career. Again, he would lead the Heat to the 1 seed and would cruise through the playoffs in the East to make another finals, this time to face the dynasty Spurs. And throughout the series, LeBron would play extremely well, with averages of 25, 11, and 7. However, in Game 6, it felt like the Heat would lose the series. But with 10 seconds left, Ray Allen hit one of the most clutch shots in NBA Finals history to win Game 6 and save LeBron's career.
Rebound box, back out to Allen, his three-pointer.
The Heat would eventually win the finals in 7 games, and LeBron was crowned the finals MVP for the 2nd consecutive time, further solidifying his dominance and proving why he was going to be the best player in the NBA for a very long time. In 2014, the MVP was given to Kevin Durant. KD not only won the MVP, but won the scoring title as well, averaging 32 points a game, which was his 4th scoring title in 5 years. Before winning the MVP, Durant won Rookie of the Year, won an Olympic gold medal, and made the finals at just 23 years old. KD is one of the most consistent scorers in NBA history, and being a 7-foot sharpshooter who could move like a guard, it made sense why nobody could guard him, because it was extremely rare to have those kinds of players in the early 2010s. If you were a 7-footer who could shoot the basketball, you were considered a unicorn in the 2010s. Now, although KD won the MVP, he would unfortunately lose to the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, in which the best player in the NBA was again LeBron James, who once more made the 2014 Finals, but would lose to the Spurs in 5 games and would absolutely get locked up by a young 22-year-old Kawhi Leonard. This would force James to leave the Miami Heat and return back to the Cleveland Cavaliers to form a new era of basketball.
Steph Curry, Kia MVP award.
In 2015, Steph Curry won his first MVP award of his career, averaging 24 and 8 a game while leading the Golden State Warriors to the 1 seed in the West, winning an insane 67 games in the regular season. At the time, Steph was just in his 7th season in the league, but little did he know it would be the start of an entirely new style of basketball in the NBA. Steph and the Warriors would cruise through the playoffs and would eventually face LeBron and the Cavs in the finals. Most people expected the Cavs to win, since many people believed that you couldn't win a championship with just shooters. But Steph and the Warriors would prove everyone wrong, since they would go on to beat LeBron and the Cavs in 6 games to win their first title in over 40 years. And although Steph was the best player on that team, the finals MVP went to Andre Iguodala, which is absolutely just ridiculous and is full-on robbery. The best player in the league that year was again LeBron James, who realistically should have won that finals MVP over Iguodala. LeBron had arguably the best finals performance in NBA history and would have won the title if Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love didn't get injured throughout the series. Only 2 other players besides LeBron have been the best player in the league for over half a decade, those players being Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. In 2016, Steph Curry went back-to-back, winning his 2nd consecutive MVP. But I think we can all agree that this MVP is arguably the best individual season in all of sports. Steph became the first ever unanimous MVP and had one of the most dominant runs in NBA history. No one could stop the Warriors' fast pace and insane 3-point shooting, because nobody got the memo that this was the future of basketball. Steph led the Warriors to a record-breaking 73 wins. Steph won the scoring title and led the league in steals. Golden State would make it to the finals despite Steph not playing 6 games in the playoffs due to his knee injury. In the finals, they faced LeBron and the Cavs again, and despite having a 3-1 lead in the series, LeBron and the Cavs shocked the world and came back to win the title. Now, you would think LeBron is the best player in the league again, but hear me out. I think it's Steph that was the best player in the league that year. Curry had just won back-to-back MVPs, he just won the scoring title, led his team to a record-dominating season, and he didn't even play in 19 fourth quarters because his team was dominating so much, and he had a record-breaking 402 threes in a season, doing things that LeBron never did in any of his seasons being the best player in the NBA. In 2017, the MVP would be given to Russell Westbrook. Russ was the most explosive and athletic guard in the league, and he's probably even more athletic than Derrick Rose. And although his best friend and teammate betrayed him, that would not stop Russ from having an MVP caliber season, since Westbrook would average a mind-boggling 30-point triple-double for the entire 2017 season, doing what no player has ever done in history. He would rack up 42 triple-doubles that year and lead his team to the 6th seed in the West. Unfortunately, despite having one of the greatest seasons of all time, he and the Thunder would lose in the first round to James Harden and the Rockets, which was also even more unfortunate for us since the teammate that betrayed him would go on to win the NBA Finals with Golden State and is arguably the best player in the league in 2017, taking the crown away from LeBron James. Kevin Durant and the Warriors absolutely dominated the league, losing just 1 game in the playoffs and forming the greatest team in NBA history. Even though to this day he still gets all this hate for joining a super team, KD probably doesn't care because he got 2 championships and 2 finals MVPs. In 2018, another guard won the MVP for the 3rd consecutive year, and this time being James Harden. Harden was arguably the 2nd best guard in the NBA just behind Steph Curry. He was the most unguardable player in the league because of his step-back threes and his foul-baiting tactics. Harden would use the NBA rules to his advantage to score the ball at will. No player could even touch Harden. Otherwise, he would just rip through your arm and draw contact to get the foul call every time. You literally could not do anything about it, except put a hand up and just hope that he misses. He averaged 30 points and 8 assists, winning the scoring title and averaging a disgusting 10 free throws a game. He would make the Western Conference Finals, but would lose to the eventual champs in the Super Team Warriors, who would also beat LeBron James for the third time in 4 years, who was also almost unanimously the best player in the NBA. Despite his all-star teammate Kyrie Irving leaving to join the Celtics, LeBron turned into Thanos and put the Cavaliers on his back, somehow carrying them all the way to his 8th straight NBA Finals appearance, despite not having a single teammate who averaged 20 points a game. It is a miracle how LeBron carried this team to the finals and pulled off arguably the greatest carry job in sports, which is just a shame because a lot of people criticize LeBron for having a losing record in the finals, when in reality, he was playing on horrible teams that couldn't do anything to help him.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
With Giannis Antetokounmpo winning his first league MVP, he would break the 3-year run of guards winning the award. Giannis came into the league as not really a hyped up player. He was drafted 15 overall and he didn't really make a splash early in his career. But after working out in the offseason to gain some muscle, Giannis would leap into superstar status, eventually winning his first MVP, averaging 27 and 12 a game while leading the Bucks to the 1 seed in the East, winning 60 wins. In the playoffs, he would make it to the conference finals, beating the Pistons and Celtics to face Kawhi and the Raptors. However, despite having a 2-0 lead in the series, Giannis and the Bucks would lose the next 4 games to the Raptors, who would also become the eventual champs, beating the Warriors in 6 games, with the finals MVP going to Kawhi Leonard, who was also the best player in the league that year. It was Kawhi's first year in Toronto, after demanding that he be traded by the Spurs. Leonard was the best two-way player in the league, scoring the ball at will on one end and completely locking up the opposing team on the other end. It probably felt so good for Kawhi winning that championship against the Warriors, since in 2017, Zaza Pachulia injured Kawhi's ankle by not letting him land properly, ending his season. In the finals, Leonard averaged 28 and 10 while beating the Super Team Warriors to win his second finals MVP and cement himself as a top 30 player of all time. In 2020, during the COVID pandemic, the NBA was forced to finish the season in Orlando, called the NBA Bubble. In that time, Giannis won his second consecutive MVP. This MVP was arguably one of the best seasons in history. Not only did Giannis win the MVP, but he also won Defensive Player of the Year. Only Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon have won both awards in the same season. The Greek Freak was the most unstoppable player in the NBA, bodying players in the lane and being called the modern-day Shaquille O'Neal. Unfortunately, Giannis would be bounced out of the first round of the playoffs as the 1 seed to the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, making it one of the most disappointing losses in Giannis' career. The Heat would make the finals, but would lose to the Lakers with the new duo of LeBron and Anthony Davis. LeBron once again was the best player in the NBA, making history to be the only player to be the best in the league on 3 different teams, which is just insane. LeBron averaged a ridiculous 30, 11, and 8 a game in those finals and won his 4th finals MVP. I can't believe that a lot of fans tried to discredit LeBron's bubble ring, saying it was fake. Meanwhile, if he lost, most fans would just use that against him and try to tear his legacy apart. Nikola Jokic would win his first league MVP of many and was the first Serbian player to win the award. He averaged a near 26-point triple-double with the Nuggets and was the engine and future superstar of the team. And despite putting up legendary numbers in the playoffs, he and the Nuggets would lose to the Phoenix Suns in the second round, who would eventually lose to the Bucks in the finals. Jokic played amazing, but he didn't have much help in the postseason, which is a big reason why his team didn't make it too far in the playoffs. Now, the best player in the league that year was Steph Curry. Now, listen, hear me out. I know what you all are thinking. Are you insane? You're out of your mind. It's either Giannis, Jokic, or Kevin Durant that should be the best player in the NBA that year. But Steph was in a league of his own. He averaged 32 points a game to win the scoring title, had the most threes in a month with 96, and more than doubled Golden State's win record from last year in 2020, while doing this all at just 6'3" and having no all-star help on his team. No player on that roster besides Steph didn't even average 15 points a game, and unlike any other player in the league that year, he was getting doubled, tripled, and even quadruple teamed by opposing players. Even in the play-in tournaments, he was performing at an insane level. I'm sorry, but Steph was the best player in the NBA in 2021, and I can't find a reason to say someone else. In 2022, Nikola Jokic won his second consecutive MVP, becoming just the 13th player in history to win back-to-back. Once again, nobody could stop Jokic. He was arguably the best passer and rebounder in the league, while being able to get downhill and score the ball whenever he wanted to, becoming the first player with 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in a season. However, his run would end in the first round of the playoffs, since he would lose in 5 games to the eventual champs in the Golden State Warriors. I feel like though Jokic gets a pass here, since he didn't have anyone to help him out in the postseason, and his 2 best teammates were injured. The best player in the NBA in 2022 was once again Steph Curry. After losing Kevin Durant in 2019, many people thought the Golden State Warriors would never win another title again. Little did everyone know, Steph would prove all the haters wrong, since he would lead his team to the 3rd seed in the West and beat the Nuggets, Grizzlies, and Mavericks to face the Boston Celtics in the finals. Boston had their 2 young wings in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but Steph would destroy the Celtics, scoring 43 points in Game 4 and closing the series out in 6 games to win his 4th title and first ever Finals MVP, completely changing Steph's legacy and solidifying himself as a top 10 player of all time. Even Giannis said that Steph was the best player in the league during a press conference.
I believe that the best player in the world is Steph Curry.
In 2023, the MVP award would go to another big man in Joel Embiid. Embiid could do everything. He could score in the paint, shoot the 3-ball, and get to the free throw line. He was unguardable and was putting up prime Shaq numbers. Except, I think we can all agree that Jokic got robbed of this award, since Embiid would lose in the second round of the playoffs to the Celtics, having one of the worst playoff performances of his career, nowhere near the MVP caliber season that he had. Meanwhile, Jokic cruised through the playoffs, beating stars like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Jimmy Butler to win his first NBA championship and Finals MVP, making him easily the best player in the league and the one that should have won the MVP over Joel Embiid. And in 2024, he would win his 3rd MVP in 4 years, becoming just the 9th player ever to win 3 or more MVPs. He would lead his team to the 2nd seed in the West with 57 wins. And being the MVP, it's no surprise that Jokic is also the best player in the NBA again. Unfortunately, Nikola and the Nuggets would lose in the 2nd round to the young Timberwolves squad with Anthony Edwards.
You are the NBA Kia MVP.
After 6 years of the MVP being dominated by big men, SGA would break that streak, winning his first MVP in 2025. Shai had a silky mid-range jumper. He could get to his spots and score at all 3 levels on the court. And with a young, hungry team behind him, he would lead the OKC Thunder to the 1 seed in the West. SGA averaged 33 points a game and won the scoring title. And in the playoffs, he would sweep through the first 3 rounds in the West, making it to the finals to face Indiana. Although the Pacers put up a great fight, SGA and the Thunder would win their first championship, with Shai winning the Finals MVP. The best player in the NBA was still Nikola Jokic, who has been the best player in the NBA for 3 straight years and arguably even longer, having one of the highest offensive peaks of all time. Although Shai won the MVP, many people, including myself, thought that Jokic should have won the award, since he averaged a 30-point triple-double and had no all-stars on his team while still finishing 2nd in the West. This guy has been robbed of MVP twice, simply because of voter fatigue and his game being just too boring and not flashy. Now for our final MVP winner, we have Shai winning it back-to-back, becoming just the 14th player ever to win back-to-back MVPs in the NBA. This MVP is a bit more controversial and hated on. Shai flopped his way to an MVP. Although he averaged 31 a game, he was second in free throw attempts, and it was clear that he was trying to look for fouls and completely abuse the game that we all love. Now, I can't hate on this too much. He still led his team to the 1 seed, and he has a deep bag in his game. But the non-stop foul hunting and paying the referees is just so hard to watch. This is not to discredit Shea's MVP, but if you're gonna give a player these kinds of calls, at least do the same for everyone else. Shea and the Thunder would lose in 7 games to the Spurs in the conference finals to a young alien named Victor Wembanyama. In fact, Victor is the best player in the world as of 2026. Wemby led his team to the 2nd seed, and at just 22 years old, he made the finals. Although his numbers aren't on the same tier with Shea or Jokic, people are forgetting that he played on a minutes restriction. He won the first ever unanimous DPOY and is on track to becoming the greatest of all time. If there's something to take away from this video, it's that the MVP isn't just a regular season award, and it isn't fully clear on what it means and what are the credentials needed to get the award. Hope you all enjoyed, and if you want to watch another one of my videos, click here.